sorry about the roughness this video is going to be compared to some of my others. I forgot to bring my tripod for the camera. So this morning I am working on my son's 2004 Kia Amanti. 2 months ago I replaced the alternator and replaced the battery on it. Still wasn't working quite right. And then discovered, this was a fun one, this connector, the wiring had started severing and shorting out, and eventually just came off altogether, somewhat melting this block here. Obviously, this is the main power return coming from the alternator. Obviously, wouldn't let power run. Once I got that replaced, things came up. Appeared to be working good for about 2 months, and then last week, as my son was driving home, the battery light came on, and the next morning the car had just under enough power to start. So I went over there, gave it a jump, pulled the battery line off, and car stayed on, sign that the alternator was running, but put everything back together, and a day and a half later the car died again. Battery was dead. Pulled the battery lead off. The battery seemed to run fine. Ran it over to AutoZone where we bought the parts from. Pulled the battery out, had them test it, and showed the battery was bad. Still under warranty. Put a new battery in it. We ran the car for about 2 days. Everything seemed fine, and then after 2 days the car stopped. The battery was drained again, an obvious sign that there was a problem with the alternator. So I took the battery out, brought it over here, threw it on a trickle charger for about 12 hours. Then took the car, put it back in the car, drove it over to AutoZone, had them do a test on it, and yes, as I suspected, the alternator was bad. My guess is that from that arcing, either we just got a bad alternator, which is going to happen from time to time, or that arcing killed the alternator. So today I'm pulling the alternator out again, taking it back so they can throw it on their tester. And anytime you think you've got a bad alternator, they've got a hookup test they can do from the battery side. But then once you pull the alternator out, they've got an in-house unit that they'll test for free to see if the alternator is good or bad. So anyway, I'll pull this alternator out. They'll have to do that test regardless before they do the warranty replacement. One advantage to using a place like AutoZone, and I'm sure that many of the other places do it as well, is the alternator. The battery has a limited warranty that goes down over time. The alternator and other parts like that have lifetime warranties. So this is just going to cost me time. You can see I already have the engine cowling, lower engine cover off. Then if I'm done with the battery, made it a lot easier. So to do what we got to do here, got to pull this cover off, which is going to be just those 4 bolts there. Oh, sorry, 6 bolts. There's 2 more down here. The alternator itself sits right there, and most of the work is going to be done from the top. But to be able to get the belt off, you got to do that from down below. This took me a little bit to figure out the first time I was working on this car, so I'm very much more used to the American style way of dealing with the tensioners on belts. It's got a tensioning unit that has a side bolt to hold it in place, and then the main tension bolt itself. So you undo that side bolt and then loosen up that tensioning bolt to get the belt out of the way. Other than that, it's actually not too bad. It's pretty straightforward. So hopefully I can figure out how I'm going to set up the camera to catch some of this. Let's get into it. I was able to jury rig somewhat of a stand. Hopefully it'll work. Yeah, this is missing 3 bolts. Lovely. That's too thick to get in there. And that is cut that back. 11 millimeter. Okay, we've got the cover out of the way. Now, do a better shot here. When I was redoing this, the original wiring here, the clasp broke. So I had to order in a replacement clasp and get that connected back on there. Found these cool little connectors here that you crimp them, but then you throw heat on them, and it makes a watertight, semi-soldered connection. I really like that. So let's see. So we have the lead here. Looks like that's probably an 11 millimeter. Could pop this guy out of the way, but shouldn't need to. I remember working this before. Some of the access down here is really tight, and I actually had to get rid of my gloves, and I've got small hands, so that might be a problem for some people working on a car like this. So I'm having a real hard time getting there. It's actually a 12mm bolt on there, right? I can get the bolt, the socket on there, but not enough room to be able to actually turn it at all. Now, remember now why the fan, at least this fan unit needs to come out to be able to get enough room to work in there. That's what we gotta work on next. So, got a bolt here, and the wiring harness is actually really easy to get out. I was able to rig up somewhat of a stand, but it doesn't give me the full angling on my normal stand, so we'll see how she goes. It's 11mm. Maybe a flight head to get that harness off. And of course that guy doesn't want to come off. At least it's going to come off of this mounting here. So actually that didn't have to come off the mounting. I was looking at it backwards. Okay. That is not an 11. That's a 10. Wants to stay in there. So the bottoms are just brackets, so it just slides out. That should give me a lot better clearance. Yeah, that's got me what I need. And this bolt, after you get the wiring off, and put back on there so you don't lose it. It'll make it easier for the guys to test with. And that's when it usually comes with the alternator. So next, I gotta jack things up and get up underneath. Okay, back corner is chalk, and the emergency brake is on. And I really don't like how this car is designed for jacking. But that's unibody design. What do you do? Of course, I'm also a little hesitant on messing with stuff like that because my BMW is so picky on where you try and pick at it. Good. Hopefully. I don't want to lay down and all that. So this cowling cover all the way across here needs to come off so that you can get up under to the alternator or to the serpentine belt bolts. Goofy design, but hey, it is what it is. And these are a 10mm bolt. Okay, so that's off. It's kind of the angle you're working through, but if you pop up over here, hopefully you can see it. Kind of a hard angle to get my camera into. Yeah, good luck doing that angle. So anyway, on the actual bolt holding on the idler pulley is the tension up, and then there's a bolt underneath that you loosen up to get the serpentine belt off. Hopefully there's no description to see it. I don't have a better angle. Sorry about that. So the tensioner bolt was a 14mm. I was because that cross beam, we couldn't get a socket in there, but I did get it open-ended. And that bottom actual main bolt was a 15mm. So now there's a bolt here on top holding it in place, and a bolt down lower. It goes across the back. That's the one I had to use my hand to get into because it will roll on both sides, and there's just not a lot of clearance in there. It looks like that's probably either, well, 15mm or bigger. Slap a 14 on to test it just because I happen to have it here. It's a 14. And so I find it easier to get the back one out of the way. And even if you need to loosen up the front one to get some swing on it, just because it's back there in pain. Now, if you can keep it from pushing back in, and then thread it, make life a lot easier. Of course, you want to go slowly at the end so you don't drop it. I have to go digging for it in the engine oil. Almost there. Come on. Ah, it's slipping on the back. There. Yep. Fell in so that the bolt was actually, the bolt was spinning as I was undoing the nut. And it's the bolt's halfway off, but nut's off. Then loosen the front bolt nut to get enough wiggle room to get that bolt out of there. Okay. Yeah, it's not going to play nice, so let's get this front one off. Yeah, it's not wanting to budge either. Oh, belt's still on there. Probably the problem. So I loosened up the 17 belt, but forgot to pull it off. And it needs to loosen up some more. Belt's off. That's still being real tight. Okay. Oh, I now remember. There's a bracket right here. I had to get that bracket off there. Just little things you remember as you go. Let's see what says that. $12mm. I don't know if this will be required for everybody, but just the way that this car, the alternator tightens up, I couldn't get the front bolt off without doing this. There we go. Good sign. Yep, that loosened up to get the back bolt out. Yeah, and dropped it. Don't do that. Come on, baby. There we go. And I have to take a soft hammer to get that out of there.
Tomorrow.
All right. Got the alternator swapped out. That didn't take too long. Fortunately, I have time to work on this right away, so it's actually the next day. It's a super easy swap out. They weren't a problem with it at all. So now the goal is to get this slipped back in there, bolt through the back bolt loosely, just enough so where it's not spinning. You can see the holder right there. So get it up in there, so make that easier. Then get this bracket up hooked on top. Slip this up, get the upper bolt in, then lock all that down, put on the serpentine belt, and then put all the rest of the gack together. So hopefully it shouldn't take too long. Here's the nut. Here's the bolt. Oh yeah, so it dropped into the car. There she is. Also hoping I can use if these ZigTech gloves will work without ripping. It's still keep me from getting some coated in gunk. This is the part. The hardest part is getting that back part lined up since you can't really see the whole thing, and it's a real tight fit. That's looking good. In the cradle, it's actually not a round hole in there that the bolt goes through. It's kind of a cradle it just sits in. But now it's got in there. It actually slipped out of the cradle, but I think it'll slide back in. Let's get this nut on there enough to where the bolt isn't spinning. Oh, that's good to know. So you actually can put that nut and bolt on ahead of time and just slip it into the cradle. Wish I would have known that. Would have made that easier. Okay, that's good there. Now for the front bracket. And I'm not going to even get these to snug. You can see how to rip those. Keep things nice and loose. Make it easier to line things up. Of course, it's not one to line up now. Now let's try and do the passenger side bolt on first. There we go. There we don't go. Where's the freaking what? So now I'm gonna tighten these up. Again, not even to snug, just so they're touching. The metal's touching. Now for this bolt. Easy enough. Nuts. So interestingly, I don't know, you can hear it on this mic because it's very close quarters. I'm hearing a lot of jets right now. And the Super Bowl ended about 2.5 hours ago. And I live about 2.5 hours from Las Vegas. And we have the largest airport to Las Vegas. Now there are 4 airports in Las Vegas. Kia International that most people go to, and one that's more of a corporate. Oh, and I have no idea what the torque spec is on this. I'm just getting it tight. And then 2 smaller general aviation fields. And I'd read that all of their locations were completely booked up for the Super Bowl for parking jets. So our airport. Now, I hope to get over to get some pictures earlier, because I imagine there'll be some jets that leave a bit later. But our airport wasn't quite filled up all the way, but a lot more jets than we normally see here. And so now that we're 2.5 hours out of the game, starting to hear some of those heading home. I have no idea what the torque is on this, but I don't like the way that's feeling tight up. I don't want it to break any of these bolts. It's still tightening though. We didn't put too much torque on it. Didn't feel like it's broken, but it feels like the threads just aren't grabbing. You know, that one's tight. That inner one just feels like it's just spinning. Yeah, not much I can do about it. Okay, next we have belt. This guy was a bit of a pain to get set correct last time. Just not much wiggle room in there. Yeah, there we go. There we go. It's actually going on pretty good. And I'm gonna need this guy. This guy. And this guy. It popped off. Where I lose the most time putting this back on is dealing with the serpentine belt. It popped off one of the lower pulleys, which then knocked it off the upper pulley. Really what you gotta do is get it on the pulleys with the grooves first, and then try and cheat it up over the idler pulley. Which is always easier said than done. Because again, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room in here. Well, let's see if I can get some more slack on that bolt. I'm hearing another jet take off now. Okay, let's hold that guy on there. Make sure everything's lined up. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Got it in my head that I have to come at the idler pulley from below, but I actually wrap down on the idler pulley from above. Come on, get on there. There we go. Now make sure we're actually in the grooves on all the other pulleys before I try and tighten things up. It's looking pretty good. As thrilling as I know that video footage must have been. That's good. Now to tighten up the anchor bolt. It'd be so much easier if I had a lift. But hey, such is life. It's feeling pretty good there. Okay. Now before I put that wiring on, I'm getting a new glove. You don't put the fan in. Alrighty. And as you get down below, what you're doing is these two pieces line up in the notches down there. There we go. Put it nicely. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. These plastic parts, this car's getting kind of old, so you gotta be careful not to go too tight on it because they are getting brittle. So they just kind of need to be snug. Okay. Then pop in the fan power. And then want to get on the positive return line to the alternator. This guy here. Double check what size of nut this is before, well, I've got it out just to make it easier. And it looks to be a 7mm. Nope, 12. Read the label wrong. Okay, we just want to line up right. There we go. Oh, that's right. This is a whole lot easier to put on if I had the fan out. Hopefully I can cheat it because I really don't want to pull the fan back up when I've got it in. Yeah. It took me 14 years to do that. So, There we go. Order matters. Get that nice and snug. Now, put the fan in. Yeah. So where the connection's sitting, it's too far down, the fan will slip in. So to loosen it up. Such great clearance in here. And turn it so it's more of a vertical orientation. Which again, giving us so much good clearance in here. Okay. There we go. Now they say, at first you don't succeed at all the evidence you tried. Or try again, something like that. Too tight, make sure the other bolt is going to line up right. Okay, now for secondary wiring harness to the alternator. That's on there nice and tight. Oh. Move all this out of there. Oh good, it fell all the way through. Yeah, let's give her a test. Make sure all my air lights are gone. You know, something I should have done. This is so dumb of me. Should always disconnect the battery when working with an alternator. I'm really lucky I didn't light myself up. So it's still showing a battery light, which means there's another problem with the electrical on it. Alternator's running correctly there. Might be one of these fuses. All right. So the alternator was fine. It's not where the problem was. The fuse block sits under here. It's a bit of a pain. I got these replacement push holders, whatever you want to call them. They're kind of odd where they've got a center thread to them. They don't always want to unscrew enough to be able to pop out easy. There we go. Just so I thought. That's got it. And there are a few of these. Okay. This tester does not give a beep, but does show in the LED readout. So this is going to be very boring as I go through and test each of these fuses to make sure they're good. The ones I should test first are these big guys here. They're more likely than not to be able to promise because they're bigger and in the flow of the power. I can't get them out. Okay. The housing's probably melted on it. Oh, actually, there's one other thing I can test that the mechanic that I talked to did recommend doing. And that's testing once the engine's on, how much voltage is coming into the system. So, get the car back up and running. Because again, I did have them do the clap-on test that showed the alternator was actually bad. It was probably a voltage problem. Yeah, it's only showing 11.7 volts there. Well, this is beyond just a simple alternator problem, because obviously I put a new alternator on it. I'm still showing under voltage on it. I'm only getting 11.3 volts here at the block. And this is definitely getting to the edge of my knowledge base. I wonder if I have to undo the bolts to get that off of there. We could try anyway. Don't like keeping bolts on batteries, you know. It's not fun if you touch it, but yeah, just the way I am. Ah! That crimp didn't work very well. That just kind of fell off. That's part of the problem. Let's see if I can get a better crimper. My crimp tools are too small for that. See if I can rent one. So I'm gonna get some needle nails and get that out of there. Yeah, this whole block is falling apart if I do that too hard. There's a screw bolt, a bolt on the back side of it. No clean tools there either. Also reduce the chance of me lighting myself up. Let's do this while I'm at it. Just really reduce the chance of me doing something super stupid, which I should have done a while ago. So I don't lose these guys. Yeah, that piece is gone. Could tape it on there, but not worried about it. God, it's so brittle. Just breaking apart my hands. Yeah, let's see if I can get that in the vise. Yes, hopefully you see if that'll hold what under this here. Okay, that's already loose. Good, that worked. Get that loose. Got to completely tearing this block apart. Yeah, that's what I thought. Better unbolt to get the whole thing out. And actually, I'm realizing, dummy, I don't need to take that apart. I can just test it directly. The leads on the back. So essentially this is one big bus bar on it. The joy of an investigative fixing. When you don't know what you're doing, you don't know manual. All right. Let's get my volt. Get my continuity tester over here. There's another tester here that beeps, so you can do more private experience. But hey, you do with what you got. You get continuity across there. Let's see about this guy. Probably easier if I would have looked at the device. So continuity there, so that's not where the problem is. Well, shoot. No, these few. The ones that don't have test problems on the top, these ones are transparent. And I can see the bus bars on it, so they look good. Oh no. So my next step is going to be seeing if I can get a better crimper for this guy. If we're going to rent one or buy one, get something a good grip on that there. Put that back together and see if that's where I'm losing voltage. And if that isn't where the problem is, then take it to a shop, see if they can figure out, or at least give me an estimate to fix it. And figure out if this car is worth fixing at this point, because it's worth about $3,000. Or if it's time to scrap it and get something else. So, that's where we're at, and we'll see what happens.
One eternity later.
Alright, picked up a cable lug and hydraulic press. So hopefully this takes care of the problem. And also hopefully I can fit the press in here. It fit. On there. Okay, I don't think that's gonna work. Get a paper towel for that. And of course I don't know my paper towels. One, the dipstick. And one to make sure gunk doesn't fall into the oil pan. And hopefully I don't do more damage trying to get things right. We're gonna have room here to compress this. Alright, see if that's going to work. There we go. Another problem I may have is I've got the tool upside down. So it controls it. Releases on the bottom, but there's that when we get there. That is on there tight. Good. Hopefully that works. Alright, I'll put the rest of this back together. Actually, should put the other pieces on first since I know one of the bolts comes from underneath. Probably should have put that guy on first. That's the thickest wire and most awkward of them. Okay, I'm doing it. Alright, that's getting a bite. My phone vibrated while it was leaning against the battery. Thought it was getting lit up. Or not my phone, my watch. I disconnected my phone. That's fun timing. Gotta love that. The block is so brittle. Every time I put any pressure on the plastic, it just crumbles on me. Ah. This guy on here. Looking around to see what I did with my voltage meter. Let's see where I put it. All right, let's see what we get. Looking good on the indicators inside. And the battery light's gone off. Yep, so before I was getting 11.5 volts, now I'm getting 14.5. That's what the problem was that lug right there. Yeah, gotta love it. Yeah, I got the parts to do it right. Yeah, you gotta love dumb stuff like that. So, put the cowling back on here, the cowling on the bottom, and we're done. That's how you replace an alternator and a lug on a 2004 Kia Amanti.